So this is like a week or two ago that this photo was posted with Hangman Page next to Marty Scurll, and they had been hanging out. This photo was posted, and it did draw like a lot of negative sentiment towards Hangman Page. I think Hangman Page is kind of held to a high standard, I would say, among his fan base, and disappointed that they would see him out and about here at a Cracker Barrel with one Marty Scurll. So for those that I'm sure most people know of, the history with Marty Scurll since speaking out in 2020, but for those that do not recall the details, he was accused in 2020 of several years prior taking advantage of an inebriated 16-year-old after an IPW UK event in 2015, who the woman had claimed she was drunk, and Scurll released a pair of statements at the time, didn't deny the encounter, although he stated he believed it was consensual, and also pointed out that in England, the legal age of consent was 16, indicating that what he did was not a crime, but added he did not become aware of her age until afterward. This did spur on an investigation by ROH, because Scurll at the time was not just with the company, but was in a very prominent role with the company, was going to be involved in a creative capacity as well. And they concluded that they ended up firing Marty Scurll in early 2021 after their investigation. And you might remember during the pandemic that when New Japan was doing their shows in the States and had like a closed set, there was an episode that was going to reveal Marty Scurll, and this word got out of him being used by New Japan and getting booked by them, that there was so much negativity towards it that they just they canceled it, of him going in. And he is still wrestling, but it is, he has done some shots with like AAA, and it's largely been like small U.S. indies, or it's been independents overseas, a lot in Mexico as well. And that's kind of where his career has gone since then. So this photo pops up, and yeah, it caused a lot of anger among people. So John Elba of The Takedown on SI interviewed Hangman Page, and I'm not going to play the entire thing. I do recommend people, if you want to hear the entire answer from Hangman Page, he talks about this for about 15 minutes. But this is a portion of his response to those that were upset about this photo and his relationship with Marty Scurll.
I completely recognize that what he did, his actions are abhorrent, disgraceful. They are, there's no excuse. I completely recognize that. I've always thought that, will always think that about his actions. And I guess as a consequence of his actions, the public has felt strongly about what he did. And for 6 years, I think because of those reactions, he's been unable to be a part of mainstream professional wrestling because of, what public, I don't want to say outcry, but what the public reception would be. I never intended for that photo to be posted at all. But I guess, now I feel like I should have to say, or I do have to say, or I would want to say, I don't want that photo to seem like some kind of endorsement or I have any interest whatsoever in like whitewashing what he did, or any interest or intention of rehabilitating his public image. The consequences of his actions that he's had, mostly, from the public, aside from like harassment, I think they've been warranted, so I kind of want to make that clear. But I have remained in touch with him. Yeah. And I guess with, if you hear all that and you listen to all that, and, you feel like maybe you wouldn't have done the same thing, had you been in my shoes, or maybe you feel, you still feel uncomfortable, being a fan of mine, or even if you've lost like the smallest amount of respect for me because of any of that, I would just want to say I completely understand that. I can respect it and accept it.
Okay, so there was a portion of Hangman Page, again, that was an interview conducted by John Elba at The Takedown at SI.com. So, I mean, this was when this photo came out, like, I'm sure you saw it, Way, I saw it myself too. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of reaction to this or feel the need to, put my 2 cents in here, because I'm just, I look at this and it's, to me, it's, the guy is not committing a crime by staying in touch with somebody that he is friends with. You can absolutely have your opinion about it. But there's several things here in the fact that I think one of the key things in that statement he gave was the fact he did not expect this photo to be posted. And I think that alone is kind of Marty Scurll put his friend here in a really awful position. And that's not to say that, he posed for this photo. It's not like he's got a gun being held to his head for this photo either. And I mean, maybe you thought there's you would maybe assume that this photo would not be broadcast publicly, because both people would know this photo would cause a lot of unrest for a Hangman Page here. But that's besides the fact here. I think that it's all comes down to, if you are a fan of Hangman Page and you're let down by this, like, you have that right to be as well. I'm just at a spot where I just don't know how judgmental I'm going to be in this situation where, like, I'll be honest, like, I don't know what my response would be. If it's one thing for people that are so detached from these stories and people that were named and speaking out of, that you can be, what would I do in this situation? Well, until you're in that situation, I can't say if I had, like, a best friend that, like, did something terrible, that I would excommunicate that person. Like, certainly there is a degree of, infractions that you would certainly, that are beyond the pale. But in a situation like this, like, I don't know what I would do in that situation if I felt I would be disappointed myself if my friend was at their a terrible course of judgment and to just end that friendship. I mean, maybe I would, but I can't say that definitively either.
Mm-hmm. So I think your stance on this, and everybody has a different one. It's certainly a controversial topic of the week even. I think your stance on it will largely depend on how you view the act that Marty Scurll admitted to committing, and that's having, sexual relations with somebody who was 16 years old while he was 26 years old.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, like, there was a dispute over whether it was consensual or not. And I think that is an important part to add in there as well.
Plus intoxication, which is an element to that story.
We're talking about a 16-year-old girl here in this instance.
Yes. So I think your view on Page associating with this person, like, more important than just posing for the picture, this was, more of a confirmation that, by Hangman's own admission, that he's maintained a relationship with Scurll all throughout these years. And what does that say about Hangman Page, somebody who speaks so often about maybe, issues in the realm of this sort of political, I don't even know if this is a political thing, but anyway, he's been outspoken about these issues in the past and has sort of inspired a lot of people to maybe look at him as some sort of, like, idol, like, as a spokesperson for, human rights and things like that. So what does it say about Page to be able to overlook this act, or not necessarily overlook, but to maintain a friendship with somebody in spite of the knowledge that, he admitted that he committed these acts? But it's a lot more complicated than I feel than just that. Because we don't know the extent of their relationship. So much more, I think, goes into something than just what appears on the surface and what is known by the public like us, right? Obviously, I've seen a lot of counter arguments to, this in people bringing up Vince McMahon and the number of people that continue to associate with Vince McMahon, despite what has been accused of Vince McMahon. People attending his, birthday party, or people in interviews talking about, John Cena, for instance, talking about forgiveness as really sort of the number one thing. And I kind of feel similar about people who have a personal relationship with Vince. I mean, it's really hard for me to put myself in those shoes without knowing the extent of like how much, one person has gone through with that other person. And also what sort of signs of rehabilitation might have existed within that person that has been demonstrated to the friend that, again, we might not be, might not know about. We just don't. All I can really say is, in listening to Page in this interview, he's had it very uncomfortable. He was stammering his words, which is not something that I think we typically hear from, the way
I had to cut out like a bunch of the ums, because you listen to it and it's just like he is very uncomfortable. He's very nervous. But I do think that he probably chose the right venue to speak about this.
Agreed.
Yeah, you could have done like something in a notes app. I think actually hearing it, which he even cites off the top, like I wanted people to hear this from me myself. I didn't see this entire interview, but it sounded like this was not like this topic just came out of left field and hit him. It looked like
John Abel did a great job of like leading the topic
Yes.
in and
Yes.
doing it in a way that was at once, I think, direct, but also like investigative, like this was like a 14-minute clip that's up there right now
Yes.
on the YouTube channel. And so Paige sounded very uncomfortable, but also like I think happy to have the opportunity to actually address it, because like I think he himself would expect that of his relationship and of himself with the audience. But he also seemed to let on, I think, a great deal of like guilt in his stature in the company versus Marty Scurll's status in the company, which is really like he's been ostracized, right? And we're talking about somebody who at one point might have been like the breakout guy in the Bullet Club. Like, would you obviously maybe not necessarily Kenny level, but like close, higher than Page, certainly. And look at Page right now, as like the guy in AEW, and Marty Scurll is sort of like nowhere to be found in the industry. He seemed to let on like a certain level of guilt for, like, he said himself, like abandoning Scurll at one time, like because of, the ROH thing. And then beyond that, just seeing how far he's kind of fallen since then. And I think it's like, I don't think it's wrong for a friend to check in on another friend and to maintain a relationship when they're that low in their life, right? Like that, like as Paige says, he's still a human. Like what,
this is where I'm not going to come down with some crazy judgment from 10,000 feet away from this, when like just look at the bare facts here of somebody that, regardless of what their ceiling was in the industry, like Marty Scurll was poised for, like, it had this not been an issue for him, this guy's probably making an incredible living today, and would have been making an incredible living for as long as he lasted in ROH, and would have easily gone to one of the big two companies afterwards. When someone has gone through this, and yes, I think people can parse that it's not excusing what was a terrible, terrible judgment made upon him, and it's not absolving the person. But I can imagine that for someone in this situation, you would be very concerned about their well-being as well, that their world has caved in as a result of this. Like, this guy, he's not entirely lost his career, but for all intents and purposes, this guy has lost his livelihood on top of this. And you can agree or disagree if that is suitable for what kind of conduct he admitted to as well. Like being able to make a full-time living as a wrestler is not a right. It is the ability for you to not be a distraction, for you to be an enhancement to shows, not a distraction, and not to turn people away, which some would argue like Marty Scurll would. But we've seen a lot of examples of people who have come into both companies, and there's been an immediate pushback and anger, and within time, it's just that person is accepted back in to these companies for a wide range of things, like a Brock Lesnar. It's just like there are times that a company just stands firm and stays with a person, and ultimately the audience is even if not necessarily accepting, it's just that person does get their career back. But there's others who will not get their careers back. And at this stage, Marty Scurll is probably not getting a full-time living in wrestling at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the star of, you know, like maybe a Brock Lesnar level where you could see a company just like going about like sort of cleansing a public image for on that person's behalf.
But this guy's 100% in WWE or AEW today, if not for this. I would say 100% he's in one of those companies.
For sure. I mean, who knows what would have happened with ROH, I guess. Like, because he was supposed to be in charge. He was
going to be the focus of ROH. And the thought was like, okay, he's going to get a chance to book here. It's like a fresh slate. He's got real influence in ROH. And if the worst happens, he will be the subject of like a bidding war between WWE and AEW. Like there was really, you know, I know Hangman talks about like this guilt he had, but it's like Scurll was not in a bad place at all. Like ROH, they were not going to be able to keep all those talents, but Scurll, they still had under contract. It was just a timing issue of why he was not leaving at that point, but they were going to put a lot of their resources into Marty Scurll. He was going to have a ton of influence.
Yeah. None of this is advocating for Scurll to re-enter this industry or AEW or any sort of way. I don't know if I'd want to necessarily see that, but it's more to me of an understandable reason why a Hangman Page would still want to continue to talk to this guy and befriend this guy.
And he's certainly not the only one either. It's just he's the one that was photographed with him.
Right.
And you can definitely look at that as something that, I mean, this guy kind of stuck his neck out. And I mean, it's you had the question asked about this, like, is this reassessing this whole situation for you? And he said, yes, it is. I'm sure he was not happy about this, the fact that he did not believe this photo would be public, and it was.
Okay, I'm sure he's not happy about that. At the same time, like, so would he have been happier, like, having a relationship with this person in private and hiding it from the world? Like,
he explained this in the thing. Like, he did admit, like, he's been, like, he stated, like, his side, and I agree with you, Wei, like, he was, you know, maintaining a friendship, but not publicizing it. And he was stating he didn't want that, like, to publicize this because it would look like I'm forgiving or whitewashing what he did. And I'm not trying to do that. But I mean, at the same time, you know, you are not like it brings no value to you to publicize this friendship either.
Of course not.
So, I mean, like that is like that is fair here. It's like you ultimately did pose for this photo with this guy. You can certainly take into question like what the reasoning was for Marty Scurll to post this photo. But it was one where, I mean, it just, you know, it forced him to have to explain this. At the end of the day, like
I wonder if Scurll himself recognized like it would be so controversial. I suppose.
How could you not, Wei?
I mean, I have no idea. Like, the idea is okay. They're in front of the Cracker Barrel. They used to team as the Handsome Devils. It's a callback to, you know, really the peak of Marty Scurll's relevance in the industry as part of the Elite and doing all of the BTE stuff with Cracker Barrel. I that's as far as I could really suggest. Right.
Well, regardless, I think it's, you know, it's not the only one of, you know, people that have been like excommunicated that they are going to maintain relationships. And it's like, I don't think you're you can certainly have your opinion of Hangman Page. I think that's totally fair here. But I mean, it is just the reality that these are human beings that are going to have friendships. And sometimes it's going to, like, listen, there are some people have done terrible things in this industry that, I mean, most of whom maintain relationships, and many that maintain very good positions as well in wrestling. So I don't think this is some isolated case of just, you know, a Hangman Page that has maintained ties with a Marty Scurll, and I'm sure you could go down the list. It's just not all of them are popping up on Instagram. February on the Post Wrestling Cafe, we continue our review of Season 2 of WWE Unreal, including a big look at Seth Rollins' fake injury, which culminated in his appearance at SummerSlam. We're going to be looking back at Shinya Hashimoto with a special career retrospective on Rewind Away, plus a review of Extreme Rules 2011, as John Cena announces to the WWE audience that Osama bin Laden has been compromised to a permanent end. We'll also take a look at New Beginning in Osaka, TNA No Surrender, and new members can take advantage of a 7-day free trial. Go to postwrestlingcafe.com and jump on board in February.